Rise of the Tomb Raider is like that moment when you let your friend copy your homework and you both pass. I know it doesn't make any sense right now, but just give me a moment to explain. What's going on today, YouTube? Pizzo Plays here. Before we start this Rise of the Tomb Raider review, I just wanted to welcome you to the channel. I'm starting to do reviews on video games, starting with older ones specifically, and as newer games release, I'll start to incorporate those as well. So if this type of content interests you, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you know when the next video goes live. The next video is going to be the Baba Yaga DLC that's included with this game. I also have links to my Twitch, socials, and Discord in the description. Feel free to join and be a part of the community. We'd love to have you. Now that that's out the way, let's go ahead and get into it. Rise of the Tomb Raider was developed by a team called Crystal Dynamics. Crystal Dynamics is a game developer that's been around the video game industry for I don't even know how long at this point. They've worked on titles like the previous 2006 trilogy for the Tomb Raider series. More recently though, they're behind the yet to be released Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy game, which honestly just feels like a Star-Lord game, and infamously enough, Marvel's Avengers. You know, and come to think of it, they actually did another game called Project Snowblind. It's a game that came out back in 2005, I believe. It's a PS2 game that quite honestly was ahead of its time. Oh God, I'm old. Rise of the Tomb Raider picks up a year after the events of the first game. It is the second game out of the 3-game trilogy this time around. And now that I think about it, Rise of the Tomb Raider doesn't really fit this game. I mean, I would have figured she would have risen the first game, but I guess it's neither here nor there. So after a traumatic experience barely escaping a cursed island with her life, which are the events of the first game, we really won't talk about that too much, Laura finds herself scrambling through her dad's research on an ancient artifact called the Divine Source, which is an artifact rumored to grant immortality, to try and validate his findings and redeem her family name after media sources claimed that Mr. Croft's work was debunked. This eventually leads to his demise, which was originally thought to be a suicide, but a shadow organization called Trinity had been behind the whole thing. From this point, both Laura and Trinity use Mr. Croft's research to locate the Prophet's tomb, where they come to a head, and Laura finally meets Constantine, who we'll talk about in a second, because he's got to be at least top 5 sorriest villains I've ever seen in a video game, but more on that later. So after Tomb Raider takes a tumble, Laura finds herself face to face with Sophia, the daughter of the leader of the Remnants. The Remnants are natives to the Siberian mountainside area who will eventually come to trust Laura after helping Jacob, the leader of the Remnants, respawn from the Gulag and holding your own in battle against the Trinity soldiers who have been pressing the natives for the past few weeks. Now, we've seen this type of story told before. Two opposing parties racing for some ancient relic that would change the course of history, right? Where this story actually shines is the way that they present Lara Croft. The way Laura was written in this game made her seem more heroic than I've ever seen her, or maybe that I've just known her to be. She's a warrior with a never back down attitude and won't hesitate to wrap you up in a Dutch if you get in her way. The developers did a good job of establishing her motivations, which made her easy to root for.
Of course, no one believed him, including me.
You also see Laura has a detective side as well.
You knew.
Laura was given a fairly decent amount of layers, making her a more complex character than I had originally thought. But unfortunately, that's kind of where the layers end. The Remnants as a group suffer from lack of development. Narratively, they play a huge role. They provide for action-packed set pieces, but aside from the two major characters, Sophia and Jacob, and a few side missions, they were actually pretty boring and kind of hard to care about, nor do they make much of a difference during gameplay. Honestly, the Remnants are only there to give Laura some sort of firepower when fighting back against Trinity. Sophia, who amongst the Remnants plays a more significant role than anyone that you'll see in the village, is also hardly used during gameplay. When you first meet her, she's presented as some sort of force to be reckoned with, but during the whole playthrough, I have never seen anything Sophia has done that could compare to half of the things that I've seen Laura do, which makes character moments laughable, especially when she's threatening to put an arrow through Laura's neck.
You should have left.
Jacob, the leader of the Remnants, ends up being my second favorite character in the main story. He's probably the only person that I feel like has a genuine connection with Laura. Jacob starts out as a mysterious character and for the most part remains that way for a majority of the game. Even with that being said though, I thoroughly enjoyed the pair's dynamic throughout the story and actually felt interested in learning more about him.
We seem to be making a habit of saving each other.
Thanks. I'm glad you're okay.
And to be honest, because of this, I ended up not caring about the connection between Laura and Jonah. I thought about not including Jonah at all, but because he was in the first game and is one of the only characters that has any sort of dynamic with Laura before the events of this game, I felt like I had to include him, but honestly, he's a non-factor. Case in point, this man got reunited, kidnapped, stabbed, all within the course of like 10 minutes in the story.
Sorry.
And above all else, this man's hairline is egregious. The only person more sorry than this dude is Constantine. Constantine is a character that looks imposing by design, but proves himself to be just a typical dumb brute. Apparently he's been manipulated since youth to believe that he was chosen for some special purpose.
Blood it shall be.
But in reality, he's just another delusional leader, crippled by what's supposed to make him a justifiable villain. I can't really get into that without addressing spoilers, so we'll skip that, but just know the dude is not redeemable at all. He's horrible at his job because apparently everywhere he goes, he's always coming in second, and he very much plays out as a puppet, which to an extent he is because he works for the shadow organization Trinity. Trinity is the one behind the antagonistic forces during the game. Trinity's motivations are a little bit more fleshed out than Constantine's motivations during the story, and throughout the game you learn more and more about how Trinity ties to the divine source and the prophet that was rumored to have obtained immortality from the divine source. And quite honestly, based on the end credit scene, I'm assuming that this won't be the last time Laura has to deal with Trinity. Gameplay wise, the game is great. The graphics still hold up today, and the Siberian mountainside is on full display. You definitely feel the Uncharted influence on this game, which has come full circle as Uncharted sprouted from older Tomb Raider games. Relics, murals, caches, all serve similar gameplay aspects, but the game does just as much work emphasizing gameplay aspects that make things unique to the Tomb Raider series. As you would expect from a game based on Tomb Raider, the tombs are elite and puts you in a situation where you have to make full use of both her skills and tools to solve the puzzle. These tombs aren't too challenging to where you give up, but challenging enough to where you feel genius level IQ when you complete them. Pair that with the fact that these tombs result in skills that enhance various gameplay aspects. These tombs are definitely worth the playthrough if you come across them. I was also amazed at the upgrade system in this game. With access to 50 different skills divided into 3 categories, Brawler, Hunter, and Survivor, Laura really feels like an apex predator no matter what situation, even if her back is against the wall. The weapons get an upgrade tree of their own as well, with visual changes within most upgrades and a noticeable difference in accuracy, ammunition, or damage made side missions and activities more of a priority during the playthrough. I only have 2 real gripes with this game. So I was using my Stealth 700 PlayStation headset, the Turtle Beach headset that you see on my head now. Too many times I blew my cover or the element of surprise because I couldn't tell where a guard that was off screen was walking, and the AI was kinda dumb to say the least. Laura's character development throughout the whole playthrough was complex and presented her with dynamics that felt like they could have gone either way at any given moment in time. This made the story seem really authentic and added a layer of suspense. The customization of her arsenal and the engaging enough storyline paired with some creative puzzle gameplay made for an experience unique to the Tomb Raider franchise. This more than made up for the lack of side character development and gameplay aspects like audio issues and AI deficiencies that held this game back from being better in my opinion. All things considered, I'm going to give this game an 8 out of 10. It's definitely a great game, but I've seen this game done before and done better. But enough about what I think. Share your thoughts below in the comments. If you played the game before, do you agree or disagree with any of the points that I made? If you haven't played the game before, are you likely to try it now? If you enjoyed this, make sure you leave a like on the video, share it with your friends. Let's try to get this all the way to 10 likes. I know that's kind of steep, but I feel like it's doable. Again, my name is Pizzo Plays, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.